Remember when a dollar stretched further and nothing went to waste? Before we had a product for every problem, resourceful women in rural America mastered the art of making do with what they had. Today we're exploring 25 ingenious household tricks that kept homes running smoothly without fancy gadgets or expensive solutions. Let's start with saving bacon grease for cooking. That ceramic crock sitting by the stove wasn't just decoration, it was a goldmine of flavor and practicality. Every morning after frying bacon, smart housewives would pour that hot grease through a piece of cheesecloth into a waiting container. This liquid gold became the secret ingredient for everything from fried potatoes to cornbread, adding a depth of flavor that no store-bought oil could match. During the Depression and well into the 1960s, bacon grease was currency in the kitchen. A tablespoon could transform plain green beans into a savory side dish, or give biscuits that perfect flaky crust. Women knew that animal fats were shelf-stable for months when properly stored, and at a time when vegetable oils cost precious money, that free byproduct from breakfast became the foundation of lunch and dinner. The practice started fading in the 1970s when health experts began warning against saturated fats. But those old-timers knew something we're rediscovering. Properly rendered animal fat adds incomparable flavor and actually has a higher smoke point than many modern oils. Using vinegar and newspaper for windows. Long before Windex hit the market in 1936, and certainly before every household had a bottle, rural women achieved crystal-clear windows with just white vinegar and yesterday's news. The technique was simple but effective. Mix equal parts water and vinegar in a bucket, dip crumpled newspaper, and wipe in circular motions. The mild acidity of vinegar cut through grime and fingerprints, while the newspaper's texture and ink created just enough friction to polish without scratching. Unlike cloth rags that left lint behind, newspaper dried streak-free every time. The ink actually helped absorb moisture and added a subtle polishing compound. This method was so effective that professional window washers used it well into the 1980s. The practice dated back to the 1800s when both newspapers and vinegar were common household items, making window cleaning essentially free. Women would save weeks of newspapers specifically for cleaning day, and a gallon of vinegar that cost pennies could clean windows for an entire year. Today's paper isn't quite the same. Modern soy-based inks don't work as well as the old petroleum-based ones, but the principle still beats expensive commercial cleaners that often leave residue. Freshening mattresses with baking soda. Before Febreze and fabric refreshers, Hillbilly housewives had a monthly ritual that kept beds fresh without a drop of chemicals. They'd strip the bed completely, then liberally sprinkle baking soda over the entire mattress surface, working it in gently with a clean broom. The mattress would sit like this for several hours, often while the women did other chores or let it work while the family was at church. The baking soda absorbed odors, moisture, and even helped lift light stains. Then came the satisfying part, either beating the mattress outside on a sunny day or sweeping off the powder, taking all the absorbed impurities with it. This wasn't just about odor. The baking soda also helped kill dust mites and absorb the moisture that encouraged their growth. The same technique worked on rugs and upholstered furniture. A box of baking soda cost about 3 cents in 1950 and could freshen every mattress in the house. The practice was especially common in humid southern climates where mildew and musty odors were constant battles. Modern mattresses often can't be flipped like the old ones, making this technique even more valuable for maintaining the side we sleep on. Repurposing flour and feed sacks. From the 1920s through the 1960s, flour and animal feed came in printed cotton sacks that became the fabric store for frugal housewives. Mills started printing attractive patterns on their sacks during the Depression when they realized women were turning them into clothing and household items. A single flour sack could become 2 dish towels, while 3 matching feed sacks made a dress. Women would carefully pick their seams to preserve maximum fabric, then soak the sacks in kerosene or lye soap to remove the printed labels. The fabric was actually high-quality cotton, often better than what you could buy at the store. Families would even coordinate their feed purchases to get matching patterns. By 1940, it's estimated that over 3 million women and children wore feed sack garments. The sacks became curtains, quilts, underwear, aprons, and pillowcases. Some mills held contests for the best feed sack creations, and pattern books showed how to make everything from children's clothes to tablecloths. The practice died out in the 1960s when paper and plastic packaging became cheaper, but those sack dresses and curtains often outlasted store-bought items by decades. Keeping brown sugar soft. Hard brown sugar was the bane of baking until clever housewives discovered that a slice of apple or a heel of bread in the container kept it perfectly soft. The science was simple. Brown sugar hardens when moisture evaporates, and these items slowly release just enough moisture to keep the sugar pliable without making it wet. A single apple slice could keep a 5-pound bag soft for months, replaced only when it started to shrivel. Some women used orange peels, marshmallows, or even a damp terracotta disc. The key was using something that released moisture slowly, without molding. This trick was especially crucial when brown sugar was bought in bulk to save money. A 25-pound sack in 1940 cost about $1.25, but would turn rock hard without proper storage. Women would chisel off what they needed with an ice pick when they forgot the apple slice. But that was time-consuming and wasteful. The bread method was particularly popular because stale heels that couldn't be used for anything else got a second life. Today's brown sugar often has anti-caking agents, but nothing beats the old apple slice for keeping it perfectly soft and adding a subtle fruity note to the sugar. Deodorizing drains naturally. When drains got smelly and slow, Hillbilly Housewives had a solution that worked better than any commercial drain cleaner and cost almost nothing. First, they'd pour a cup of baking soda down the drain, working it in with an old spoon handle if needed. Then came a cup of heated vinegar. The reaction created a satisfying fizz that broke up grease and grime. After letting it bubble for 15 minutes, they'd chase it with a kettle of boiling water to flush everything away. This monthly treatment kept drains clear and odor-free without the harsh chemicals that could damage old pipes. The combination actually worked on multiple levels. The baking soda deodorized and provided mild abrasion, the vinegar dissolved soap scum and mineral deposits, and the chemical reaction helped dislodge debris. Rural homes often had temperamental septic systems that couldn't handle caustic commercial cleaners, making this natural method essential. The trick worked equally well on bathroom and kitchen drains. Some women added salt to the mix for extra scouring power, or followed up with lemon peels for a fresh scent, using coffee grounds in gardens. After brewing the morning coffee, resourceful housewives never threw away the grounds. They went straight to the garden or houseplants. Coffee grounds added nitrogen to the soil, improved drainage in clay soils, and helped retain moisture in sandy ones. Acid-loving plants like azaleas, rhododendrons, and blueberries especially thrived with coffee ground mulch. The grounds also deterred slugs, snails, and even some cats from garden beds. Women would dry used grounds on old window screens, then store them in coffee cans until planting time. A ring of grounds around seedlings protected them from cutworms. Mixed into compost, coffee grounds helped speed decomposition and added valuable nutrients. This practice was so common that some women would collect grounds from church socials and community breakfasts. The used grounds also made excellent additions to worm bins, producing rich castings for the garden. Before synthetic fertilizers became widespread in the 1960s, these free soil amendments were crucial for maintaining productive gardens. Even mushroom farmers prize coffee grounds today. something those old-time gardeners discovered through simple observation and experimentation. Sun bleaching laundry. Monday wash day wasn't just about getting clothes clean, it was about harnessing the sun's power as a natural bleach and disinfectant. White sheets, diapers, and clothing would be spread directly on grass or bushes after washing, where the combination of sunlight and the oxygen released from grass created a gentle bleaching action. The ultraviolet rays killed bacteria and mold spores while breaking down stains at a molecular level. Women knew that certain stains, like fruit juice and grass stains, would completely disappear after a day in direct sun. This method was so effective that even wealthy households with access to commercial bleaches still sun-bleached their finest linens. The practice required timing and weather cooperation. Items needed to be turned periodically and brought in before evening dew. Different regions had variations. Southern women might spread quilts on tin roofs for intense bleaching, while prairie women laid items on clean snow for a similar effect. The fresh outdoor scent that resulted couldn't be replicated by any product. Sun bleaching extended well beyond practicality. White sheets on the line showed neighbors you were a good housekeeper. Polishing furniture with homemade oil. Store-bought furniture polish was a luxury most couldn't afford, so women mixed their own from kitchen ingredients that worked just as well. The standard recipe combined 2 parts olive oil or melted lard with 1 part lemon juice or vinegar, shaken in a jar until emulsified. This mixture cleaned, polished, and protected wood without the waxy buildup of commercial products. The oil nourished dry wood while the acid cut through grime and added shine. Some women added a few drops of essential oil from herbs in their garden for scent. The homemade polish actually penetrated wood better than synthetic products, helping prevent cracks and splits in dry climates. Application was an art, using soft flannel cloth from worn underwear or shirts, working with the grain, and buffing to a high shine. Different woods got different treatments: walnut oil for dark woods, lighter oils for pine and oak. The same mixture worked on leather shoes and belts. A batch cost pennies to make and lasted months. Women would polish furniture monthly, usually on the same day they waxed floors, turning housework into an efficient system. Scouring cast iron with salt. Cast iron skillets were often the most valuable item in a rural kitchen, passed down through generations and seasoned to perfection. To clean them without destroying that precious seasoning, women used coarse salt as a gentle abrasive. While the pan was still warm, they'd sprinkle salt liberally, then scrub with a cut potato, a handful of paper, or a corn cob. The salt absorbed grease and lifted food particles without stripping the polymerized oil layer that made cast iron non-stick. For stubborn residue, they might add a little oil to make a paste. After scrubbing, they'd wipe clean with a dry cloth and apply a thin layer of bacon grease or lard while warm. This method kept skillets black, smooth, and rust-free for decades. Soap was the enemy of cast iron. It would strip the seasoning and leave a soapy taste. The salt method was so effective that the same skillet could go from frying fish to baking cornbread without transferring flavors. Women knew that a well-maintained cast iron skillet actually added dietary iron to food, important in areas where nutrition was challenging, keeping mice away with steel wool. Before hardware stores sold specialized pest control products, Hillbilly housewives knew that mice could squeeze through impossibly small spaces, but couldn't chew through metal. They saved steel wool from other tasks and stuffed it into any gap where pipes entered walls, around door frames, and in foundation cracks. Unlike cloth or paper that mice could gnaw through, steel wool hurt their teeth and gums, making them seek easier entry points. The key was packing it tight and deep enough that mice couldn't simply pull it out. For extra protection, they'd mix the steel wool with dried peppermint or caulk for permanent sealing. This method was especially crucial in grain storage areas and root cellars where food attracted rodents. Women would do a thorough inspection each fall before cold weather drove mice indoors, checking and replacing steel wool as needed. The practice was so effective that it's still recommended by pest control professionals today. Some women added broken glass or metal shavings to their steel wool barriers, creating an impenetrable defense. The cost was essentially nothing compared to the food loss and disease risk from mouse infestations. Repurposing eggshells. Eggshells never went in the trash. They were valuable resources for cleaning and gardening. Crushed shells made excellent scouring powder for narrow-necked bottles and jars. Women would drop crushed shells into a bottle with a little water and vinegar, then shake vigorously. The shells scrubbed the interior without scratching glass. In the garden, crushed eggshells provided calcium for tomatoes and peppers, preventing blossom end rot. Scattered around seedlings, the sharp edges deterred slugs and cutworms. Some women boiled eggshells to make calcium-rich water for houseplants. Finely ground shells could be fed back to chickens for stronger eggshells, creating a perfect circle of reuse. During World War II, when cleaning products were scarce, eggshell powder mixed with soap became toothpaste. The shells also went into compost, where their calcium balanced the acidity of coffee grounds and fruit waste. Clean, dried shells stored in a jar would last indefinitely. The membrane inside fresh eggs was saved too. Applied to cuts and scrapes, it helped healing and reduced scarring. Using string bells as alerts, a simple string with bells or tin cans created an effective alarm system for pantries, chicken coops, and root cellars. The string was tied across doorways at ankle height or attached to doors, so any movement created noise. This warned of children sneaking snacks, raccoons raiding coops, or doors left open by accident. The system cost nothing and required no maintenance. Women would use Christmas bells saved from decorations or make noisemakers from tin cans with pebbles inside. The placement was strategic, high enough that expected visitors would see it, low enough that nighttime raiders wouldn't. Some variations included strings attached to mouse traps that would snap when triggered, creating a louder alarm. The practice was especially common in households with multiple children where the pantry needed protection from midnight raids. During the Depression, when every morsel counted, these simple alarms prevented food loss. The same principle protected gardens. Strings with noisemakers around corn patches scared away deer and raccoons. Mending clothes immediately. A stitch in time saves 9 wasn't just a saying, it was survival strategy. Women kept sewing baskets in the living room and mended clothes the same evening they were damaged. A small rip fixed immediately took 5 minutes. Ignored, it would become an unrepairable tear. Every woman could darn socks, turn collars, patch knees, and reinforce seams. Clothing was expensive relative to income. A man's work shirt cost a day's wages in 1930. Mending extended garment life by years. Women would reinforce areas before they wore through, adding patches to elbows and knees preemptively. They saved worn garments for patch material, carefully matching colors and patterns. Invisible mending was an art form, reweaving holes so perfectly they disappeared. Buttons were treasured and transferred from worn-out clothes to button boxes. During the Depression and World War II, mending became patriotic duty. Clothing ration stamps made new clothes precious, so mending skills meant survival. The practice created stronger family bonds too. Evening mending while listening to radio shows became cherished family time, making supper from scraps stews. Nothing edible went to waste in a hillbilly kitchen, and the weekly Clean Out the Icebox stew was a masterpiece of frugal creativity. Women kept a container in their icebox or freezer where they collected vegetable trimmings, leftover meat bits, and bones throughout the week. Come Saturday or Sunday, everything went into the big pot with water, creating a unique stew that was never quite the same twice. Carrot peels, celery leaves, onion ends, and potato skins added flavor and nutrients, usually thrown away. A ham bone from Sunday dinner might simmer with Tuesday's leftover green beans and Thursday's mashed potatoes to create a hearty soup. The key was knowing which scraps complemented each other and having a good base of seasonings. These stews often tasted better than planned meals because the flavors had time to develop. During the Depression, scrap soup could stretch to feed unexpected company by simply adding more water and perhaps some biscuits. Women took pride in creating something delicious from nothing, and children grew up thinking these irregular stews were special treats rather than economy measures. Lining shelves with newspaper. Before contact paper existed, women lined their cupboard and pantry shelves with newspaper or brown paper, creating an easily cleanable surface that protected wood and made spring cleaning simple. The paper caught spills, drips, and crumbs and could be replaced in minutes rather than scrubbing shelves for hours. Women would save the colored Sunday comics for visible shelves, creating cheerful patterns. The practice also helped identify pest problems early. Any mouse droppings or insect activity showed clearly on the paper. Some women added bay leaves or cedar shavings between paper layers to deter insects. The paper provided extra insulation in cold pantries and absorbed moisture that might cause mold. Dating the papers helped track when shelves were last cleaned. During canning season, the papers caught sticky drips from jam jars. The practice was so practical that many women continued it even after modern shelf liners became available. Changing the paper became a seasonal ritual, often coordinated. With major cleaning sessions, the old papers weren't wasted either. They went to start fires or into the garden as mulch, using vinegar to absorb odors. A small dish of white vinegar left overnight could neutralize the strongest odors without adding artificial fragrances. Women placed saucers of vinegar in rooms after cooking fish or cabbage, near sickbeds, or anywhere musty smells lingered. The acetic acid in vinegar actually neutralized alkaline odor compounds rather than just masking them. The vinegar itself would evaporate within a day, leaving no scent behind. This was particularly valuable before exhaust fans when cooking odors permeated entire houses. Some women added a few drops of vanilla or herbs to the vinegar for a subtle scent. The same principle worked in refrigerators. A small, open container of vinegar absorbed odors better than later commercial products. After painting rooms, vinegar dishes helped eliminate paint fumes faster. The practice was so effective that it was standard in sick rooms and after deaths when homes needed freshening for visitors. Unlike perfumed products that could trigger headaches or allergies, vinegar was completely safe around children and invalids, stopping squeaks with kitchen fat. When door hinges squeaked and commercial oil wasn't available or affordable, women reached for whatever fat was handy: bacon grease, lard, or even butter in a pinch. A small dab worked into the hinge pin eliminated squeaks instantly and lasted for months. The same treatment worked on drawer slides, window cranks, and barn door tracks. Animal fats actually had advantages over petroleum oils. They stayed put better and didn't drip, and their slight stickiness helped hinges move more smoothly. Women knew to wipe excess away to prevent attracting dust and dirt. In winter, when metal contracted and squeaks worsened, a mixture of fat and graphite from pencil lead created long-lasting lubrication. The practice was so common that many women automatically greased hinges during spring and fall cleaning. Squeaky floors got similar treatment, working fat or soap into the cracks between boards. This household maintenance with kitchen supplies kept homes running smoothly without special trips to town for hardware store products. Making fly traps from jars. Flies were more than nuisances in homes without screens. They spread disease and contaminated food. Women created effective traps using mason jars, sugar water or vinegar, and paper funnels. The funnel, made from newspaper or brown paper, fit snugly in the jar mouth with a small opening at the bottom. Flies attracted to the sweet liquid inside could enter but couldn't navigate back out. Apple cider vinegar with a drop of dish soap worked especially well. The vinegar attracted flies, and the soap broke surface tension, so they drowned. These traps were placed near windows, doorways, and anywhere flies congregated. Some women added raw meat or fish for different fly species. The traps could be refreshed by simply dumping and refilling, lasting all season. During canning time, when fruit flies were problematic, similar traps with fermenting fruit worked perfectly. The method was so effective that commercial fly traps still use the same principle. Women would make several traps and place them strategically, significantly reducing fly populations without toxic sprays around food and children. Using cloth rags for cleaning. Long before paper towels existed, every household had a rag bag filled with squares cut from worn clothing, sheets, and towels. These cloth rags were the workhorses of house cleaning, used for everything from dusting to scrubbing floors, then washed and reused hundreds of times. Women categorized rags by fabric type and previous use: soft flannel for polishing, rough terry for scrubbing, and lint-free cotton for windows. Old underwear became the best furniture polishing cloths. Diapers graduated to floor cleaning when babies outgrew them. Each type of cleaning had designated rags that were washed separately to prevent cross-contamination. The rags were free, more absorbent than paper products would later be, and could tackle tough jobs that would destroy paper towels. Women took pride in their well-organized rag collections, often stored in repurposed flour sacks under the sink. Wash day included boiling the dirtiest rags with lye soap to sanitize them. The system was so efficient that a household might go years without purchasing any cleaning cloths, and those old rags often outlasted the houses they cleaned. Thanks for joining us on this trip down memory lane. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe.